Hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, hey.
Hey.
Hi, everyone.
So nice to see you.
Yeah, thanks for coming along.
Yeah. We'll start shortly, just waiting for people to come along. Hello, Natalie. Oh, yeah, our background. It's our project. How are you feeling? How's the weather where you are? Because I know there are many locations. Yeah, where are you? How's the weather? Oh, nice. London is sunny.
Oh, from Brazil, the beautiful sky. I know. It's almost Brazil here. Can anyone else hear? Can you not hear? Oh.
Can you not hear us?
Oh. I can hear. Okay. So it's just Owen. Maybe go out and come in again, Owen.
He can't hear us, Kristina.
Ah. Dar. Yeah.
Writing in the chat. Okay. Yeah. I think you got it. Okay. I think just wait a couple minutes and start. Yeah.
Yeah. Norway, nice.
Oh, wow.
Hey, du. So where's everybody else from? London, Brazil,
London.
Azerbaijan,
Yeah.
London.
We have formula here in us, so probably it's loud out there for this guys from Baku. Yeah, it's pretty loud. Exactly.
Owen is back.
Yes. Hope he hears us.
Yeah, you can hear us now, Owen. I hope.
Yes, I can hear you guys.
Oh, yay.
Hey.
Hello. Am I meant to be on here on the video?
Not in a minute. When
Okay. Oh, you guys look great. Love it.
Just say hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. Nice to see.
Yeah, looking forward to this. I'm very big passionate about virtual architecture.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
So Jimena's back as well. We're gonna mute the people who are not talking. Just
Yes. And I think we can
start.
turn your videos on if you wish, but just stay muted and you can add questions and start. Okay. Should we start?
Yeah.
Okay. So officially now, hello everyone. Thank you for coming to our COVID-19 and spatial modifications event. I'm very excited to see you there, and just know this event is recorded and it's interactive. Feel free to add your questions, thoughts in the chat box. We'll be answering them at the end. There will be a Q&A part. Also, we're excited to share our explorations of brand new spatial experiences, mainly informed by extended realities development and their role in our life. I'll introduce myself. I am Madina Masimova. I'm event organizer and I'm a spatial designer, artist, and creator. My practice focuses on creating and designing environments in the conjunction of technology, science, and art. And being always occupied by space, I'm interested in its full investigation, including design in Mars, even outer space. And I consider there is no place without space. And it's really exciting, and I'm passionate about making spatial designs, arts, and discoveries. So with me today are multidisciplinary designers, Kristina, Ashwini, Jimena, and Fernarda, whose practice is connected with the extended realities, novel spatial experiences, and their experience touched the realms of digital fashion, spatial and 3D design. We are all part of Digital Maker Collective at the University of the Arts, London, and we experiment and investigate virtual environments. I'll tell you now about inspirations behind the event. So with me today are amazing experts and of spatial design, fashion, and the inspiration comes from my graduate project and spatial modifications themselves. I observed everything that's going on around me, and I came to the conclusion to make something that touches me and everyone because of COVID-19. And also COVID-19 brought significant challenges into our lives. It also informed spatial movements towards virtual environments, creating opportunities for human connection and creation all around the world. This is how I met with our guests through the Digital Maker Collective's shift to VR meetings. It's the pandemic accelerated my reach to the virtual environments as well. And at the time I joined this collective, I was at the beginning stage of my graduation project development, so it helped me a lot to develop and prepare my project. I made a map starting with urban environments because pandemic started from the streets and affected us from there. And then we went into home, faced with emerging realities, and then back again to the streets, to the urban environment. It accelerated the development of XR, extended realities, bringing our homes to the central point of emerging novel realities. And in a glimpse, our homes turned into private, public, and part of virtual environments. So I think everyone noticed it because we were working from home, studying from home. It was both private, public, and sometimes virtual. We met and made connections with people from different countries. I witnessed the notion of distance by myself starting to slowly disappear because of the digitalization, and we're able to reach ourselves, each other. I began exploring and creating extended realities, which became pandemic versions of offices, interaction studios. And this situation touched all of us. And now we want to share with you our projects and practices. So first, I want to tell you a bit about the origins of immersive experiences, because some people may think it's something very new and it's just emerging, but its origins dating back to centuries ago, to the cave Lascaux and its fantasy environments, characters, and objects. For instance, in this cave from southwestern France, there are, as you can see, ibex, bisons, oryx, and even some felines. And archaeologists believe sandstone lamps and fireplaces had not only lighting function, but also created a moving effect and turned the caves into 360-degree painting. So Lascaux is considered at the prefiguration of virtual reality or electronic simulation systems, evoking a specific state of consciousness. So, but moving forward to 14th century, we can say later artists aimed to achieve the simulating effects with paint. So Giotto conveyed through paintings a sense of space, illusion, as you can see in the image, and expressive faces. Alberti, author, also investigated the vision and its ability to grasp reality. Then Brunelleschi used perspective in an architectural way. And paintings can be observed as examples of virtual realities, emphasizing endeavors of two-dimensional space to reflect three-dimensional, which objects are situated in an environment. I think it's very fascinating to see how it started. Now I want to ask some questions to my co-hosts and to say, what special change have you noticed in your life since the beginning of COVID-19, and how has XR shaped your practice or experience?
For me, the pandemic has accelerated the landscape of the immersive and metaverse in particular. New platforms have emerged and artists and designers have started embracing new technologies as physical meetings were no longer feasible. Theatre plays like Dream by the Royal Shakespeare Company were reinvented for audiences to find a new and unique way to engage with immersive storytelling in the form of live interactive VR. As a spatial designer, XR gives me the opportunity to explore the narrative potential of space, imagining spaces that would be impossible to be built in the real world, enhancing storytelling. Being an integral aspect of design brings the story to life. Story is how we make sense of space and time, and is how we record our memories.
Yeah, thank you, Kristina. It's interesting. What about you, Ash? Would you like to add something?
Yeah, so because of lockdown, I got a lot more time on hand to just start experimenting with digital fashion and things. And I also decided to create a digital fashion collection because it was a safer option to stay home than to go into campus and actually sew physical garments and things. And around that time, I also started to see a pretty big change in the fashion industry in general, with so many different brands and companies going digital. I mean, whether that's Balenciaga's video game, Gucci's Roblox display, the rise of the fabricant, PDH's supply chain becoming digital. So many Indian brands I know that started having virtual trade shows as well. So looking at all of that, I became quite convinced and confident that digital is the future, and that focusing on 3D immersive design would prepare me to be part of the future workforce of fashion, essentially. And so that's why I ended up kind of taking virtual and immersive much more seriously because of COVID, because I realized that's the direction we're headed in.
Yes, thank you, Ash. I think the digital fashion movement is very interesting, and Fernanda is also from this background.
Yeah, similar to Ashwini, when we were hit by COVID, I was actually on the course of writing my MA dissertation, and I thought that by not being able to go to the libraries, it would be a problem. And actually, it was not. And it forced me to be much more creative and to find other ways to research for good content and to contact people. And just as Ashwini, I delved into digital fashion. It was already the theme of my dissertation, but COVID reinforced it. And once in digital fashion, I was thinking, what else can be done? What else can be explored? It was when I got in contact with the Digital Makers Collective. I saw a VR presentation from them and it was like completely blown away. And I thought, wow, this is the future and I really want to be part of it. So I applied to become a member and I started to experiment the metaverse with them. And then now designing for XR platforms.
Yes, yes. It's what unites us, right? The digital maker collective and how fashion and spatial design mixes. I think for spatial, Jimena can add.
Yes, as well as Kristina, yeah, I come from a spatial designer background, and definitely I realized during 2020, like how many immersive experiences start happening, and I think people start appreciating more these platforms than before. It also has become more accessible for so many different users with new collaborations, new projects coming. But I have been involved in VR since 2016, and however, I've seen like definitely the pandemic has accelerated in such a way that there's been amazing like collaborations projects I have seen. For example, I would say all kinds of Limbo by the National Theatre. I think that has definitely opened my eyes and influenced my perspective as a spatial designer. And to be honest, the endless possibilities virtual reality has to offer. So in my interest, I want to pursue in the events and exhibition industry with a new approach, and not just replicate what is in the real world. I think this is the perfect time to collaborate, to bring conceptual narratives that are unpredictable environments that engage the user in very uncommon ways. And to the positive side of COVID, I think this has definitely opened an enormous market potential, not just for other careers, but I think for people that's in the creative industry has definitely give us a tool to, build the future maybe. So I think it's fascinating.
Yes, exactly. I think it's like a big step forward to the future. It's like dragging future to now and experiences. It's amazing. And I would like us to share our projects with you. And we'll start with amazing Fernanda, the digital fashion designer. Stage is yours.
Hi everyone. So my name is Fernanda. I'm a digital fashion designer. That means that I design collections in 3D, both for fashion brands that use 3D as a resource to replace physical samples, and also for digital fashion houses that sell digital garments only. Digital garments only, meaning that it never exists in real life. They can be applied into images, videos, or imported to immersive experiences. I've always related the work of fashion designers to the work of architects, as we both design shelters for the body. And I believe that by using 3D software, fashion designers and architects are more connected than ever. And it's a huge pleasure to be here talking to you today. So as I said, I'm a digital fashion designer. Just change the slide. I'm a digital fashion designer, but before that, I worked for the fashion industry for almost 13 years, for the traditional fashion industry. And it seems almost awkward to say, but such creative industry took quite a long time to innovate its processes and digitize itself. Before the pandemic, it was quite common to see brands and almost all professionals working with paper patterns and physical samples, just as the first image of myself fitting a sample with the pattern maker. Yet at the same time, we had the automobile industry and architecture fully working with 3D for quite a while. But with COVID-19, we experimented a major disruption, which resulted in global supply chains and brick and mortar shops ceasing their operations to eliminate the spread of the virus, and accelerating and prioritizing the need for a digital revolution. So these three images show a significant change in the way I've been working lately, from physical tools to 3D designs, and nowadays, as a consequence of digitalization, designing garments for immersive experiences. So the implementation of the 3D software by the industry was planned to happen in 5 to 10 years' time, But COVID-19, as I mentioned, prioritized the need for this digital transformation. And here's an example of a digital sample that were done by my studio for a Brazilian brand. And the 3Ds were done before the production. And you can see how similar the digital sample is to the real outfit. But now with 3D, we discovered something new. Why do clothes have to exist only in the physical life? Why can't we have a digital wardrobe? We are living in a digital area more than ever. So why not have digital garments that can be used on social media or online meetings? Like now that we're talking, I could be wearing a digital outfit. And here's an example from my studio of a garment that is made from pixel only, and it's applied to a photo. And what's fascinating about 3D is that when clothes become digital only, they gain an object status. They break the barriers of physics, of gravity, allowing complete creative freedom that challenges Newton's laws. And then going further, we now have garments that are created to be part of an immersive experiences. And for me, that's when fashion meets architecture. So here's a work in progress from our collective, the DMC, where I've created the 3D dress for a VR platform that we're building on Outspace. And its main inspiration was one of the buildings created by Jimena, one of our speakers. I created the dress in 3D, exported to FBX, and added some animation to bring it to life. And now, in conclusion, what I wanted to highlight is how the fashion industry is changing and approaching other industries, such as architecture, and even going further, we see the fashion industry approaching entertainment and gaming. There's a merge of industries happening, and this blend is a consequence of digital experiences. And all the evolution in immersive technologies is phenomenal from the creative perspective, right? It helps to explore new territories without limitations of physical laws, but at the same time, it's not an end in itself. It needs to be put in favor of a greater purpose. How digital fashion as an immersive experience and a non-human actor can unlock healing properties and help us to rebuild stronger societies and our confidence in the future. That's my inquiry, and that's what I've been working on. And
thank you, Fernanda, for sharing your experience and showing how fashion meets architecture, and that's what we basically do here. Yeah. I want to give it to Jimena to share her practice.
Thank you, Madina. So I'm Jimena. I'm a special designer and a 3D artist. I'm an alumni of Chelsea College of Arts and one of the founding members of the Digital Maker Collective, a volunteer informal research and development group at UAL, founded by and led by Chris Follows, a UAL's Emerging Technologies Manager. Basically, my work focused on creating immersive experiences for the future of events and exhibition design. Before the pandemic, I used to work in the events industry, and obviously, as you have seen, it's pretty much on standby, hasn't stopped, but it will come back. And my main goal, but I transitioned during 2020 to immersive technologies. And my main goal is really to take the future of these industries to create really memorable immersive experience. This year and last, so many changes and new adaptations have happened. So my previous work from before pandemic with the DMC has definitely helped me reinvent myself. Previously, I used to do digital work with collaborations with the Tate Exchange at the Tate Modern and with RSX Art Studio. And I think this really prepared me to dive into new opportunities and shape myself as a designer, and really was the future for spatial designers. As Fernanda, she previously mentioned, this is a collaboration with the Digital Maker Collective, and Fernanda and I, we worked together. She created this beautiful space, this beautiful, gown for this space. It's a centerpiece. This is like a hub for the platform Allspace, where it's work in progress. So the centerpiece of the building is gonna be a starting point where all of us will gather, and it will be. We can also add installations and work for other 3D artists. From there, we have different, if you can see the image on the right, is different portals that is actually worlds that will take you to different worlds in iSpace of the members of the collective, made by the members of the collectives. So what we just wanted to create was this, I think the inspiration was Escher's world, and we wanted to create these bridges that we can have around it, like 3D animations, like a hologram, just creating a whole mood for the space. So yes. And the next slide. But during 2020, after obviously transitioned, I work with Vortex Art. It's a 3D exhibition and as a 3D and exhibition designer. Vortex is a virtual platform for the arts world. So they create beautiful galleries for artists and exhibitions, installations. And during this time, I was working with them to create a virtual lobby for their platform. Paramount research was to understand the user experience from different museums. So what it was looked at was into multiple buildings, such as the Pompidou Center, the MoMA, the Louisiana Museum. And I think my biggest inspiration was really the Oscar Niemeyer Museum in Brazil. And after this research and understanding really how the narrative works in a physical museum, how the user interface, user experience, we look at the other different platforms and analyzing their lobby space and how the physical and virtual environments work together. The final proposal was a virtual lobby space that has a smooth narrative with glimpses of beautiful details, but was also taking into consideration the architecture that doesn't compete with the artwork. Finally, each part of the space is being used as a portal for different scenes or interactions. So this year as well, I have been working with Frame. Frame is a company, it's a 3D collaboration platform. It's easy to access with a web link. It's perfect for meetings and event gatherings in the virtual world. It can be accessed from your phone, from your desktop, or a VR. And I think it's a really great space for students and other users that have never really tried immersive experiences before. So during this time, I have been creating a school space to get around 50 users. So you can see here, and the main focus is really to do a workshop and gather as many people, but also create a different architecture proposals, just not so gamey, I guess, approach. So yes, which we're working on creating an open plus workspace that will engage all the participants to collaborate and to access as well private meeting areas. The model contains small houses. They will be assigned for personal work of the students, so they can have them as to share their creations just as a displayed space. And the design inspiration was taken from different Scandinavian schools. So yes, that's me.
Thank you, Jimena, for amazing lineup of spatial and architecture to virtual world and environment, and sharing your collaboration with Frame. It's amazing. Heading over to Kristina.
Hi, my name is Kristina. We're going over to the art space and architecture a bit. My name is Kristina Thiele. I'm a spatial designer and VR immersive experience creative, and one of the founding members of the Digital Maker Collective. A little bit about us, DMC. We're a group of UAL staff, student, alumni who share common goals in exploring digital and emerging technologies in the context of arts practice, education, society, and the creative industries. I graduated in 2017 from Chelsea College of Arts in interior and spatial design. And in 2020, I co-founded a new immersive production studio called Arts XR. Our aim is to continue to raise the bar for immersive artistic practices. Due to the pandemic, our thinking had to be adapted. As location-based immersive experience we previously exhibited at TEDx, Tate Modern, or Delphina Foundation were no longer possible. We had to adapt existing projects like collaboration with artist duo Metallurgy, and the project Air Morphologies had to be changed to be exhibited in a safe way. So we had to rethink the way we collaborate and work together at the DMC as well. Originally, Air Morphologies was initiated during Metallurgy's residency as UK Artist Associates at Delphina Foundation, and created as a location-based experience in December 2019. Air Morphologies, this project here, addresses the materiality and composition of air pollution particles, their causes, effects, and morphological agency. The project's experiments with VR technology, working with and against the immersive, spectacular and gamified modes to produce tactile and embodies encounters with particulate matter. It's quite a handful, quite a mouthful. The original project used embedded sensors and objects, enabling the users to touch and hold pollution particles in their hands and see the materiality of air as if through a microscope in a VR headset. The work addresses how art and aesthetics interact with toxic materials, what kind of stories might be deployed through technologies, such as virtual reality, and how geopolitics are located in atmospheric thinking and being. It was also part of the Unity Unicorns event at Tate Exchange in March 2020, which is the image on the screen now. Fast forward to October 2020, and we're in the middle of the pandemic. The project was to be shown at the Gazelle Art House group show, Enter Through the Headset 5. The solution, so we were asked to exhibit there, and we said, yeah, we can't do that. We can't put headsets on people right now in the middle of the pandemic. So the solution was to adapt the haptic and visual experience to a purely visual experience in the form of a 360 immersive film, to be experienced at the gallery in person in Mayfair. So the film has since been acquired by Gazelle Art House and is now permanently on show in the gallery's VR library. This is an extract of the film, so I will share my screen now.
Yes, giving it to you.
Particulate matter are materialized through industrial processes, the combustion of fossil fuels. I am composed of metals, glass, and the minerals quartz, mullite, and hematite. I live in coal-burning power plants, landfills, and lagoons. I travel long distances, blown by the wind. I take
Taking it back. Okay.
And as a founding member of the Digital Maker Collective, I continue to be involved in various projects exploring digital and emerging technologies in the context of arts, education, and knowledge exchange, and the wider society, as a fact. And in 2016, the DMC were invited to be by Tate to be part of a new project called Tate Exchange as one of the 50 Tate Exchange founding associates. Since 2017, the DMC has held yearly events as part of the week-long residency at Tate Modern in London. So the latest event, Unity Unicorn, was held in March 2020, just a week before lockdown. So we're just lucky to get in there. The Digital Maker Collective and guests from the creative and tech industries transformed Tate Exchange into an open and accessible testbed for creative tech to explore, question, and learn about the world of tech business and the future of technologies. At the DMC, we also had to adapt to pandemic restrictions, and weekly in-person meetups at UAL and Camberwell were a nostalgic momentum of the past. Chris Follows initiated meetings in Frame VR, the one that Jimena is now designing for, WebXR instead, a browser-based 3D platform, easy accessible across various devices to continue our weekly meetings. I think you can see that. So as an exploratory version, ArtXR have recreated the Tate Exchange as a WebGL version, which is being shown here. The idea was to create a space that had familiar features whilst taking the building out of its urban context. Since the whole collective was moved online, global opportunities were created, and members from across the globe have been meeting twice weekly since September. Remote meetings meant that Madina could join us from Azerbaijan, whilst Fernanda could join us from Brazil at the same time, and I was joining from London. The DMC was invited to experience an immersive art piece in Canada. We held a minting party, NFT minting party in March, and we continue to collaborate remotely on various projects. In December, the DMC held an immersive roundtable in WebXR, discussing provocation around sustainability and digital fashion, inviting speakers from France, the Netherlands, Finland, Spain, Greece, Germany, and UK. And even though it was a beta version, it was a really successful event. So, and this is, as I said, this is the Tate where we, you can go in and meet us there if you want.
Yes, and this is how I met Digital Maker Collective. I went to the Unity Unicorns event.
Oh, really?
2020. Yes. And I didn't know them at that time, but I was very inspired by what they do. And I was a bit upset and disappointed that I won't be able to join them because I needed to go back. But pandemic, luckily, created the opportunities to join them later. Thank you, Kristina.
Thank you, Madina.
For your project. And we're going to Ash, who is digital fashion design.
Thanks, Madina. Hi, everyone. My name is Ashwini Deshpande. I'm just about to graduate from BA Fashion Design and Development in London College of Fashion. And as I said before, because of lockdown, I got a lot more time on hand to start experimenting with digital fashion design. And that's around the same time that I found out about the Digital Maker Collective and I joined them. And at the DMC, I got to meet people like Madina and Kristina from fields like interior design and spatial design. I got to meet people from immersive theater backgrounds, etc. And that led to my interest in not just digital fashion, but virtual spaces and environments. So the first virtual space that I built was in Frame VR, which is a WebXR platform. And it seemed complicated at first. As someone who's never worked on anything related to spatial design before, I didn't know where to begin. But I think the good thing about building in VR is that you don't have to follow any kind of specific protocol. You can do absolutely anything. So in the first space that I was part of building, it was for a digital fashion event. And there wasn't much in the room itself, as you'll see in the video that's about to follow. It was mainly just a 360-degree photosphere. So it was very, very simple to make. I just used Photoshop to make my bits, but it made me understand the joy of creating spaces. And I learned that it doesn't have to be very complicated, that you don't have to use tools that you don't know. You can use whatever you know how to use and start off with really simple spaces. So here's a short video of that first space that I created. This was created in collaboration with some of the others who are present here, like Kristina.
And this is when you invited speakers from different countries, right?
Yes, yes, we did. It was a really interesting discussion around digital fashion, around, what is very relevant today, actually. This is a couple of months ago, we were talking about digital fashion NFTs, about digital fashion education. We had some of the experts in the field really coming in and speaking about it. And I think the space really made a big difference as well, because it set that mood rather than when you have a Zoom call and you're not able to actually be immersed in that space. It's a different vibe to actually being there as avatars and speaking about digital fashion.
Yes, and it's amazing how people came together in a virtual space to almost
absolutely
physical.
Yeah, and I think also for so many people, it was their first time using the space, but because they were all digital natives, it was really interesting to see how, all of them were able to navigate as avatars so easily because they're in that field, and you kind of, once you're used to one thing, you just get used to other immersive platforms really quite intuitively. So that was really interesting to see. So that was the first space. Then when my final year began at university, I decided to create a fully digital fashion collection. Normally with physical clothes, students hire studios or they go to really scenic locations and get beautiful pictures of their garments. I couldn't do that with digital clothes, so I decided to create a virtual environment instead. So I bought a VR headset around the same time, which actually made the process a lot easier because I don't have experience in 3D modeling in Rhino or Blender or things like that. So instead, I started thinking about how I can create a space using tilt brush and gravity sketch, which are 3D painting tools. And that's what you can see in the video. The first one was gravity sketch, and this one is tilt brush. So I decided to create the space in AllSpace VR instead of WebXR because I felt like that was the next step where it would give me, you know, a lot more freedom to explore different ways of creating spaces. And it was a little bit difficult at first, but well, it was the first space I really designed outside of WebXR.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I like how you did LFA, London Festival of Architecture.
Yeah, just thought I'd have a little demo of the tools that I used. So like I said, it was quite difficult to even imagine a 3D space at first. So because I've never designed a space virtually or physically. So I started off by exploring, first of all, a lot of other spaces in AllSpace, just, you know, similar kind of spaces to draw inspiration from them, see what other people are doing. And then I went into Tilt Brush and I drew a bunch of rough sketches of how the space might look. And many of the things I tried, I didn't like how they looked because I realized how difficult it is to design a space. But then I finally found a couple of different little bits of rough sketches that I thought were interesting and ideas that I could take forward. So once I had a vision and ideas for the space that I was happy with, I started exploring Unity and I started adding bits that I drew on Tilt Brush and Gravity Sketch. And I also added a few moving avatars and some clothes that I designed and everything into the space. Finally, I uploaded that into AllSpace, and that became my first environment that I created from scratch. And that environment is now part of my final fashion collection. So because of lockdown, I explored VR and I created spaces in VR and started creating spaces at all in the first place. Otherwise, I probably never would have been able to visualize my own space, let alone build it. So here's a short space of, well, the two different, you know, virtual spaces that I created for my fashion collection. Oh, I think there's supposed to be some music for this one, but it's fine. It's just regular music. So. So the concept behind my collection was that, you know, clothes are made of natural fibers and how farmers are an essential step of the fashion supply chain. They're that first step. And so I tried to virtually depict clothes growing on trees. And I think, again, that's something that physically would be very difficult to do, but virtually, I think it can look very interesting and be quite simple to do. And I was able to add in animations of these women that are kind of like supposed to represent the farmers, and they're, you know, they're sowing seeds and they're picking fruits, the fruits which are supposed to be clothes. So. This is the second space. Again, this is something that I initially designed in Tilt Brush. And a lot of the elements, if you've used Tilt Brush before, you might recognize some of those like petal elements and things. They're very typical Tilt Brush elements. And so I imported that into Unity. And I just wanted to make a really magical space since it was one of my first VR spaces.
Amazing farming collection. I just like how you brought this, the issue that you experience into your project, your graduation project.
Thank you. And yeah, that's all for me. So thank you, Madina, for having me. And yeah, back to you.
Thank you, Ash. Now, yeah, it's my turn to show my project. Okay. So I earlier introduced myself, but we'll do it quick again for someone who missed it. I'm Madina Masimova. I'm spatial designer, artist, and creator. I'm passionate about spaces and committed to explore them and create whilst questioning their character. And space is ubiquitous. This is what excites me. And now I will show you my projects of COVID-19 and spatial modifications that inspired actually this LFA event. As you can see, it's a marine pavilion. Extended realities allowed us to dive into simulations, creating subspatial realities. And We Are Marine Pavilion, you are seeing it now, I have created and designed, investigates spatial reality and questions what is real and what is not. Pavilion is inspired by real-life architectural entities and partially adapted into a virtual world as it went through a reality transformation portal. This version is partially adapted because it still has some connections with real world itself. Later, you'll be able to see its full transformation into digital entity. And you can see the texture and material play and the senses they give us. The wool gives us the sense of softness, fragility, which is provided by glass, and marble makes the structure resemble to water and something underneath, like underneath futuristic pavilion. And this is the fully VR transformed version. And you can see there are levitating forms and marble and transparent materials, which add dramatism. And it's contemplation about how the world functions by various rules, because the forms are levitating and not by gravity rules. So now you'll be able to experience it through video. So Marine Pavilion is imitating the undersea world by its fin shapes and using mainly marble and transparent materials. And it challenged gravity rules, take a visitor into contemplation. With words you can see which say nothing is real, everything is real, and the forms that take you into a futuristic experience. And the Marine Pavilion itself turns into subspace representing a unique reality. As a physical space, virtual space is capable of evoking emotions and affecting people's psychology. And majorly called color palette I chose for the pavilion adds futuristic experience of the undersea shaped world. As you can see, stairs have no surface, and now we're going through them. It's because I wanted to translate the no surface in the VR, because you just fly and you don't need surface to climb the stairs, and you can experience it in a novel way. And there is its main transformation from real world pavilion into virtual world. And these forms are transparent. The colors are used to evoke feelings and emotions, mainly bright. And here you can see its fin shapes and resemblance to fish from when you see above. And this flying experience is what it adds to its dramatism. The next project is poetic spaces. So I'll ask you a question. Have you wondered what poems look like if they were spaces? And poetic spaces are transformations of poems that erode into spaces. And having great interest in exploration of spaces, I investigated spatiality of language and ways to create environments by envisioning poems. And every time I write a poem, I imagine the world behind them. It's like the physicality in some terms of a poem, of a language. And there are stories and feelings in each poem expressed by language. And now I want to express language through space, perceiving poems as metaphysical spaces. This poem is dedicated to creation and how I want to be a different color every day, because by my own philosophy, I don't have a favorite color. I just have favorite combinations of colors. And this poem is about it. Now you'll be able to experience it as well. Can you hear the sound? Okay. Okay, that's fine. No.
I can.
No?
I can hear it as well.
I can hear the sound.
You can hear it? Oh, okay. What about a little bit?
I can't, but I think it's maybe just a problem on my end. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. As these are about poetic spaces and poems I wrote. I think the sound was breaking, but I hope you experienced the space. And each of them was about a different poem. One with clouds meeting the middle space with transparent curtains. And this one is about ocean feelings and how they transform into the physicality. The next project to share with you is virtual offices. And virtual offices are a part of my explorations of spaces affected by COVID-19. And the pandemic placed offices and workplaces into our homes where we live through a shift. And I have started investigating the spatiality of work and education and how can I transform it into a virtual world to keep the concentration, the focus level, and at the same time to make the space pleasant. As you can see, architecture-wise, I used the structure of the previous project, Poetic Spaces, and it went through a scenario change in the virtual reality. Another one was more creative and poem-related, whereas this one is more workplace. So blue and green are the main colors I used in the office environment to create calmness, and they are augmented by tranquil sound you'll be able to experience in the video. And they evoke the relaxing feelings, whereas another one was able to make it more poetic and will let you focus and work in a pleasant surrounding. An office itself comprises of assemblage of working, then collective relaxing room with tables, flooring, and plants reminiscent of real life textures and adding color surreality. So there is a video, so experience it. So it has both the features of virtual and physical, creating this mix and blend of environments in a brand new way. Yes, these were my projects. Oh yeah, I see from the chat the comfort of cushions. I'm glad they do. They should do. They should provide more comfort. And these were my projects. I hope you enjoyed to see how this event started, the inspiration for event started. It's with my graduation project. And now it's time for discussions, and everyone who wants can join them, open cameras, and to discuss with us. I provided some questions for our co-hosts and guests, so we'll think together. And the first one is a relationship between virtual and physical space, and this balance. How do you think can it be achieved?
I can start. So as a fashion design student, I was used to doing everything physically before the pandemic. But I think once I started exploring digital fashion, I found that, well, first of all, it's such like the most obvious thing that it is that it's a great tool for things like marketing and just like customer experiences and things. But also at the same time, I realized that it can be an incredible tool alongside physical, like as part of the supply chain process, for instance, just for prototyping and things. So even though like, you might not think of it as something that can work hand in hand with physical all the time. Like, for example, within fashion, it works perfectly with physical. So I think like they tie very well together. And for me, that's why it's just so important, because it helps digitize what's already physical and just improve that process.
Yes, that's a good point. And what do you think, Fernanda?
Yeah. I think that balance is key. Actually, the virtual world is necessary, especially because we are, 8 billion people. So we need to expand our world to virtual for sustainable reasons. Like in fashion, we have to use the 3D instead of making physical samples. It's important. But, I'm not afraid of technology. I think technology is complementary. And but it's interesting to share also that since I've been exploring the metaverse with my VR headset, when I finish that, and go back to real life, there's such a great need of nature, of real life, of the sunlight. I think I end up, it has much more value in the end, the sunlight becomes much more necessary.
Yes, I can feel it, because indeed, when the pandemic happened, we started to appreciate the moments we spend in nature, with friends and outside. And it just was like a key moment to understand this balance and take it as through.
I think it's a balance, and the metaverse is great, but it will never replace reality. I think a lot of people are trying to replicate reality, and I don't think that's what it's for. I think it's to imagine things that cannot happen in reality, because that it's endless. I mean, the possibilities are endless and creativity is endless. But I think it will never, just replacing what you have in real life is never going to work, because it's not going to be better. So I think you leave the real world for another world that is in your imagination. And I think that's kind of creates opportunities and gives accessibilities to a completely different audience and different connectivity. And I think that's what's really, really interesting and exciting. Mm-hmm. What about you, Jimena? You still there?
Yes, I think Jimena is muted.
It's on mute.
Yeah. You're muted. Okay. I think we have some technical problems with Mike.
Yeah, I think so too. Just maybe we have some questions from the audience.
Yeah, we have actually from Owen about where we take our inspiration for digital designs, and does the physical influence the digital? I can start, and I think co-hosts can catch up. And yeah, I think physical plays a great role because it informs the digital world. I think, at least for my project and spaces, even though I create brand new spaces, but they are informed by the needs of physical world, of people who need, for example, a space for work. I would offer them a virtual space I created for VR, and this is intertwined. Yeah, and anyone wants to
Yeah, I can add also. So the physical, it's totally still part of my work. Like I only design on 3D now. I don't use paper anymore at all. I design directly on 3D, but my inspirational process continues the same with the research, online researches, and also observing natures. And the different thing is that now how I'm designing in 3D, as I mentioned, I don't have to respect the physical laws. There's no gravity. But when I'm designing a garment for a 3D body, for an avatar, it's still a 3D. I have everything that I learned from Pattern Maker from how to transforming a 2D pattern into 3D. I continue using, and I think that my background in traditional fashion and knowing about pattern making is so important to design garments. Because despite the tools being digital, the science of it is the same. It's absolutely the same. So yes, we cannot stop learning on how to make patterns, 2D patterns, and transform to 3D.
Yeah, I think it opens up the global stage to everyone. NFT is a good example. Even though it's not strictly XR, it gave a voice to underrepresented artists and communities from a completely wide variety of backgrounds and cultures. And fashion is another great example where, as mentioned before by Ashwini and Fernanda, physical garments worn for Instagram being just once worn, thrown away. So it's such a negative impact on our planet that something has to be done. And, I think it's responsible for 10% of annual global carbon emissions. That's more than all international flights and maritime shipping combined. I mean, introducing digital fashion will help alleviate this and help fashion as designers reimagining their approach, using digital garments, replacing conventional methods they once followed and accepted, and instead shifting their focus towards digital technologies and bringing their collections to life.
And I sorry. I was just going to say, I really agree with Kristina about the sustainability side as well, because if you look at it, like with fashion, the supply chains are already very global. A lot of the designing happens in the West, a lot of the manufacturing happens in the East. And instead of, flying samples halfway across the world every single time, digital fashion just helps you send samples across virtually, and that can actually make such a big difference sustainability wise. It can help you make this supply chain so much more sustainable. But also coming back to Owen's, I think, kind of original question regarding inspiration, I thought that was a really interesting question, actually, because when I started thinking about where do I get inspiration for digital garments, whereas when I was designing physically, where did I get inspiration? I think it's kind of almost similar inspiration, like you're still getting inspiration from nature or from architecture, all of these types of things. But I think with digital fashion, you can take the inspiration much more literally almost, it's like you can put a building on a person literally and call that digital fashion, whereas in the real world, that's a lot harder to do. So I think it expands what you mean by fashion in the first place. So that's really exciting. And I also think just the fact that, social media exists and we're so we're all constantly networking in a sense. I mean, I'm connected with so many digital designers that I otherwise wouldn't have known, people who are all the way, on a different side of the globe and things. I think that can provide incredible inspiration as well, because digital is so new. Everyone's doing different types of experiments, and until someone does something, you don't know that it's possible. So yeah, that was just, my 2 cents.
Yeah, and I think Jimena wanted to say something previously.
Oh no, just same as I agree a lot with Kristina, what was you saying about the NFT, and also Ashwini with the sustainability. Coming from events industry, it's so polluted so much. It's always every event that is finished, it's just everything just goes away so quickly. You just take so many months designing something and then it's gone after 2 days. And I think definitely virtual reality has to open that and really involve more, I think, the spatial designers in the practice. When we want to create an event, there's endless possibilities, and we can also save in going to traveling to the site, making all this. It's we're reducing so much I mean, obviously, is trying to find the right balance. But I think, yeah, I think after pandemic, I think definitely a lot of businesses are going to start rethinking how they're going to present their projects, and also how, as a designer, how we can actually go, we can actually be more creative, and there's like the budget can actually, it's actually more friendly here, because you don't have to build like a star in the sky. It can be built, with different budgets in virtual world.
Yes, exactly. And about this collaboration part between this digital fashion and spatial design, I think it's amazing how we can come in the virtual world together if we're not able in physical. And what we're doing in the Digital Maker Collective now is just connecting the spatial design with digital fashion by Ashwini and Fernarda. And I think it's just the beginning of like post-pandemic world isn't the, but just beginning, I think, of experiences. And I'm actually excited to see what will come next and where will we go. Yes, and also I want to ask, do you think, what about the virtual opportunities for people, where digitalization can take us? I'm just thinking of these questions as well. What do you think?
Yeah, like just as you showed, Madina, on your works, that you create the virtual environments, thinking about the colors, thinking about the feelings. And I remember that when I was on your poem, the poem environment that you created, I felt so calm there because of the colors and also the movements. And so I think that we'll be able to use the virtual space as a healing place also, a place that you go for meditation and you are completely immersed on this new environment. I think we are about to really start using and investigating and exploring this virtual environments.
Yes, and indeed, I think isn't virtual environment creates more opportunities to people from underrepresented countries, because there were many global events this time turned to virtual, like job events and many other global festivals. And I think it gave a chance to people from different countries who are not able to visit it in normal opportunities in normal time to do it during the pandemic, during the digital events.
Yeah, exactly.
Huge leap.
Yeah, I think that there's a huge opportunity. Yeah, go ahead.
And I was just also just thinking out loud. I think even in terms of like global collaborations and things, it's huge, right? Because I mean, for example, when the software boom happened, like that changed India's economy massively, and it was like a huge advantage. Like there was, the GDP went up and all of that, because there was suddenly, you could work with companies in the US and you could be doing engineering jobs, like really good engineering jobs in India, which previously you had to be in the US to do them. And when those kind of things happen, it helps countries that are usually underrepresented kind of like take their place in the global scene. And I think again, like immersive technology and things is it's going to help do that, because right now if you look at with fashion, a lot of fast fashion manufacturing might happen in like India. I mean, I specifically talk about India because I'm Indian, so I know about it, but a lot of fast fashion manufacturing happens there. But in terms of, if you look at the top luxury fashion brands, and especially if you look at things like the marketing, communications, and all those types of things, not much of that happens in India. But with these types of things, it could happen in India. You could have people working in Paris, people working in India, people working in China, in the US, everyone working collaboratively to create, virtual garments, virtual spaces. And I think that's really exciting, because it means everyone can be involved in the latest cool thing that's happening. So.
Yes, exactly. And I thought just we're running a little bit over, but it was just a very fruitful and insightful conversation. And just back forward to Owen's question about what makes digital space successful, I think it's finding its purpose and being used for what's purpose for. If it's a creative space to engage maybe creative people and to invite its audience and invite people, the space, I think, should catch itself, should find itself and its audience.
Yeah, Madina, I think, I mean, to be honest, with the future where is this taking us, I think we need to just look not just as, you know, as the spatial designers, but I think the future of retail is probably there as well. The future of like set design, I think fashion shows, everything, all of this, I think is going in mass in the next years. And I also think, I mean, obviously we have an older generation that, no, I mean, I'm sure there's lots of people that are happy, you know, they're going with these technologies, but I think this pandemic has shown us that in the next 5 years, we're going to have to go and learn again something else, and we're going to have to go and evolve, and we're going to have to move with it every few years. So I think it's here to embrace it more than be scared of. And obviously, I think there has to be, as we discussed before, the right balance, because a lot of industry can be affected by complete digitalization. But I think, as we discussed previously in some of our previous meetings, we're saying that it's because it hasn't been said and nothing has been said yet, right? Like everything is so, we're all discovering this together, like all the industry, we don't know what we're doing, we're all exploring, like it's great, but there's nothing yet said. So I think it's an amazing opportunity to collaborate and really, hopefully build a really nice community. And in the future, you know, as you were people in Serbia, people from Peru, where I'm from, they can just go and just join and really have the same opportunities that we're having. So I really feel like it will be very friendly, hopefully in the future, and a really nice opportunity to join us all together.
It's also a question of cross-disciplinary working together. So a 3D designer a fashion designer is working with a spatial designer, is working with a sound designer, is working, you know, it's like they're all coming together, and then they can also use the same tools, and sometimes it crosses over, like Ashwini created a space, even though she comes from a fashion design background. I think that's really interesting, and I think a lot of that's where a lot of universities are going now, where it's a lot of cross-fertilization and cross-disciplinary programs being run, and I think that's really exciting as well.
Yes, exactly. I like this cross-fertilization term. Just describes what's happening with digital fashion and digital spatial design. Yes, I think we came to end and run over time. Wow. Thank you for being there. Thank you for coming. We're so excited that you came and stayed with us. I hope you enjoyed our project practice discussions. And yeah, you can connect with us if you would like. We'd be happy to join the conversation. And yes, thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And see you next time.
Yes.
Have a nice sunny weekend.
Yes. Have a good weekend.